The second pillar of self-realization, as you guess, most likely, is the absolute. Realization of the absolute is so important. And as I am speaking, you may begin letting go with exhalation into the absolute. Absolute is not just about transcendence. It's also about realization of oneness, realization of everythingness. Absolute is space of creation. Everything that exists, exists in the absolute. But for it to be experienced as such, we need to enter what I call the unmanifested absolute, the one which is realized through the Tantien. The concept of transcendence is a little bit misleading because it implicates that we want to transcend this reality in order to enter some kind of a higher version of reality beyond of here. But there's only here. Absolute, universal consciousness. These are dimensions of here. These are the dimensions of reality. And they need to be realized if we want to realize reality, if we want to realize our own self, and if we want to reach unity with creation. Absolute is complete peace, perfection of being. Well, nothing moves. There's only that stillness that is flowing into itself. Living without the absolute is painful. What we want to transcend is not this reality, not this dimension. We want to transcend suffering. And the only way to transcend suffering is by realizing reality. We have been working with the Absolute for many, many years. So my question to you is, are you in the Absolute? Are you fully in the Absolute? And is that realization part of your essential part of your conscious experience of yourself and reality? If it is not so, you need to strive to make it so. With the technology of surrender that we have in the teaching and the energetic support, there's no reason why you should not succeed. The reason absolute realization of it is so rare is because no one knows about it. It's a hidden realization, hidden dimension of self-realization, even though once you realize it, it appears so fundamental. Same with pure consciousness or universal subjectivity. First, you need to establish pure me, of being in this case. Your identity, a new identity has to be created at the entrance to the Absolute. So you are letting go with exhalation. Second exhalation, which is the descent of the vital force. And pure attention is attached to it. You need that substance of pure attention. At the end of the second exhalation, pure attention stops in your lower belly and it becomes pure attention. This is where pure me is being formed. And because Absolute is so far and so deep, and our connection to the belly, lower belly, is very weak, this is why it's so important that pure me is experienced in a strong way. The embodiment of pure me is paramount here, because otherwise you don't have the force to pass through the portal to the Absolute. The next step is from pure me, letting go with the third exhalation, which happens beneath the vital force. After the vital force stops, you continue the same movement, and there's exactly the same feeling as before, perhaps more subtle. The feeling is more subtle. Because you are actually, third exhalation is happening in the Absolute itself, beyond you. The second exhalation is still happening within you. Third exhalation is happening beyond you. And in third exhalation, the nucleus of pure me disconnects from pure me and passes through the portal. And here too, you need to add the element of self-absorption, and your surrender has to be very one-pointed. Here too, you need to squeeze yourself into the Absolute. You need to squeeze yourself into that space beneath you, which is free from any energetic fluctuations of being. Sensitivity to that kind of fluctuation is actually quite important, because that fluctuation is suffering. And if you don't recognize that suffering, you don't really have an incentive to go beyond it. You just may stay as well content with the shallow experience of being, or even deeper experience of being, but which is still devoid of true freedom. So in the third exhalation, you are moving into the space of freedom. And you are overcoming here the pull of the vital force, which wants to pull you up. That's why you need to be strong, and you need to really focus in your penetrative surrender, in that squeezing effort and letting go effort. It's actually squeezing, not so much letting go. The element of letting go is present, obviously, but letting go will not take you there. You need to open the way. When the third exhalation ends, and it ends in a natural way, pure attention stops. And that is your new station in the Absolute. or the, shall I say, first station in the absolute. This is why you need to embody that stop, so that new, on a deeper level, pure me is recreated. It's very important to recognize that distinction between being somehow at the threshold of the absolute and being in the absolute. And to recognize that you have actually shifted dimensions. It's important to recognize it, because otherwise you might lose the absolute. You might get confused where you are. And you are still in a very close proximity to the vital force, so that its disturbing influence can pull you up easily. So one has to be really focused, austere in that practice with the absolute. Because it is still not a safe place to be, not deep enough. This is why we need to activate then the fourth exhalation. The third exhalation represents the first level of absorption in the absolute. Fourth exhalation is pointing to the second level. Now, when you are doing this practice, you do not go through the first, second, third exhalation in order to get to the fourth. It would take too much time and you would run out of breath. That's why you start with the fourth exhalation from the beginning. Meaning the first exhalation and the fourth can coexist. And you disregard the first, you emphasize the fourth. Same principle, but your sense of identity, pure me, becomes more subtle. Here too there's this element of transformation of pure me, which is necessary in order to enter deeper, the absolute. You could say absolute can take you in as deeply as you have transformed. There has to be this resonance of your identity and your transcendence. So from the after first absorption, you again self-absorb in pure me. You let go with the fourth exhalation, and you keep squeezing yourself in, and you keep self-absorbing. Meaning, the initial self-absorption as you commence your fourth exhalation is not the same as when fourth exhalation ends. At the end of fourth exhalation, your self-absorption is deeper. But you see, you still need to be focused. So you're self-absorbing, which is the movement of self-disappearance or melting into oneself, but you are also gathering yourself at that center of self-absorption, focalizing your identity, so it still remains sharp as a tip of an arrow. The first and the second absorptions are the most crucial because they will let you getting established in the absolute. That's why it's important to spend some time there. So that pure me can integrate. As it becomes more subtle and more somehow different than before. And you are learning how to live in the absolute. Because it is such a deep surrender, that's why we often refer to it as the great death. What you are dying to is many things, but mostly the will of the vital force. Which is like that vital force is fundamental to being an individual and existing as an individual. So you are here truly transcending the individuality, or at least this is how it feels initially, because absolute it not only allows you to move beyond yourself as you were, but also allows you to become yourself on a deeper level, meaning it allows your individuality to flourish. after it is integrated. So we are already very deep in the absolute, but not deep enough. We need to enter its innermost space, the depth of the ocean, and this is done by continuing our surrender. So again, after the second absorption has been reached, pure me is recreated. You sort of stay there. And when you have enough stability, because remember, too much surrender can destabilize you or weaken your sense of self and general sense of orientation. You basically become dissipated, space out, disorientated. So after you have a sense of stability in the second absorption, you continue your surrender. Same principle, you're just going deeper. This time you are going deeper with the fifth exhalation. And again, you don't have to go through from 1 to 4 and 5th. You start with the 5th. But you're still letting go and squeezing yourself deeper with out breath. Very powerful tool. The purpose of the 5th exhalation is twofold. One is actually to keep you in the second level of absorption, because it's not so easy to maintain it. So you need to keep pressure in your surrender. And the 5th exhalation helps you to maintain that pressure. And the second purpose is to arrive at the 3rd level of absorption, where pure me, pure attention stops. Or the nucleus of pure me stops. And then pure me is again recreated. And then you are really deep in reality. And before we continue, I would like you to, in the break, to verify whether you can enter that place and somehow being natural in it.